melt is when I'm ocean waves.
Well, today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Virginia Wesleyan women's coach Jeff Bowers. His team just came off a thrilling overtime penalty kick win against, which I probably assume is your rival, Christopher Newport, who was undefeated at the time and is going to the Final Four next weekend in Salem. Coach, congratulations and thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us. We're excited and we're looking forward to prepping for the week to get to Salem.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is why you coach, right?
That's it, right? It's exciting and just a great time of year for sure.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you've been at Virginia Wesleyan for 23 years. I don't know too much about the school. It's a small private school in Virginia Beach. Tell us a little bit about the school. I'm sure you know as good as well as anybody. You've been there so long.
Yeah, no, great place, obviously. So Virginia Wesleyan, it's a small private liberal arts institution. We're located down here in Virginia Beach. We're about 15 to 20 minutes away from the ocean front here. We're about 10 minutes away from downtown Norfolk, and then about 5 to 10 minutes away from the locals beach down here. So just obviously, for those of you that have been down in the area, there's just so much to do. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so just coming down here just has been really obviously a blessing on our end of things, and with my family, and so the school itself, the average class size here is 14 to 1. So it's really about the community here for sure. You're going to know your professors extremely well, and the relationships, I think, are just the most important thing here at Virginia Wesleyan.
Yeah, well, even if you leave soccer aside for the moment, what kind of students does Virginia Wesleyan generally attract?
Sure. No, I think it's just a diverse group of students. I think we're one of the most diverse schools here in the Commonwealth for sure. And I think that's really what's exciting, that you just get to bring in different cultures, different personalities, and get to know different kids from all over the country. It's not just Virginia kids. We have students from all over the world and all over the country.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the school is very, very small, but you guys have been quite successful in sports. You've gotten to a Final Four yourself and a whole bunch of undefeated seasons in some ODAC, which is it's a very competitive mostly Virginia conference. But I believe
Sure.
you won a national championship in, was it basketball or?
Yes. So our basketball team won a national championship in 2006. The coach actually in crazy small world. He's the youngest coach ever to win a national championship in Division 1, 2, or 3. Dave Macedo. He's still here. But Coach Macedo and I actually interviewed on the same day, time ago, 23 years ago. So we're best friends. And our softball coach is amazing. They won 3, I want to say, of the last 4 national championships. Their coach is fantastic and just a great motivator, great personality. And their team has had just tremendous amount of success as well. So, and we've had an individual golf winner as well. And a number of just really highly successful track and field student athletes. So we've been obviously really successful from an athletic standpoint, I would say. And so it's exciting to be around our athletic department and the culture here within the department. Just lots of really great coaches. And, we're really fortunate here at Virginia Wesleyan. All of the coaches, their offices are all right beside each other. So we have a great community. We can communicate every day on a daily basis, and we get to see all the student athletes from every sport here, just not our own. So, it's really fun to see.
It's fun to learn from other coaches, even if the techniques and the tactics are different in different sports. The leadership skills that you can trade and talk about. It's great to be able to have that kind of sharing.
No, I think it's absolutely what you're spot on about that. I mean, I think we just have that. We come in. We say we don't work. We have fun. But we can come in and just bounce things off of each other on a daily basis, and I think that's what makes it rewarding as well for our coaching staff.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned growing up in Pennsylvania. I know you went to York College. Where exactly in Pennsylvania did you grow up, and how did you get involved in soccer?
Sure. So I'm from York originally. I went to York College of Pennsylvania. And I think, and life provides various paths for us, for sure. I was an accounting major in college, and ended up, realizing that wasn't going to be the thing for me. But I wanted to coach, and I loved soccer. I was coaching a team while I was in college. Actually, my college coach's his son. So I got a chance to dive into that, and I felt like probably the best way to coach was to coach in high school. And I went back. I got my teaching degree. I taught in high school for a little bit. And while there, I went to get one of my coaching licenses, and I think I was blessed that God gave me a path, and I ended up at Messiah College in Pennsylvania. Coached with Dave Brandt on the men's side for a year, and then I coached on the women's side for a year, and ended up back at my alma mater at York College on the men's side with one of my good buddies, Mark Ludwig. And then, the job opened up down here at Virginia Wesleyan. And so, I was teaching high school at the time, and, just took the dive into it. And really, to be honest with you, the big, I think, role model for us was Dave Brandt at Messiah College. And he really showed me a path. Him and the assistant coach at the time, a guy by the name of Jason Spodnik, I really think the way they were doing things, their leadership, I really had never experienced anything like it before in my life. And so, from that time and that moment on, I was bought into the college game. And, ultimately, I think it's just, you have this opportunity to have an effect on these players. You only get them for a short amount of a time. And, it's for 4 years, and it just goes by so quick. Obviously here in our program, we talk to our team a ton about servant leadership and humility and grace. Those are our 3 core values here, within the program. And I think ultimately for us, those are the things that we love, that we have a chance to have an effect, as I mentioned, on these kids in this short amount of time. So yeah, for us, I think that's led me into coaching, and that's why I'm in coaching. Obviously we love to win. We want to be successful, but it's so much more than that. Here, we have a relationship with our players. They live up in our offices. And I think that's the really important thing for us. We always say when we get to go to one of our former players' weddings, because we've been to a ton, those are the best parts, the most fun for us. That's probably players that we've known for 10 or more years. And just to see, you're talking about recruiting them as juniors in high school, and then all of a sudden they're getting married, and seeing that's rewarding and that's fun. And so that's the part about the game that's really important to us as a coaching staff.
Well, do you approach women and men players in the same manner? Is it the same skill set being successful on the women's side as it is on the men's side?
Obviously, I think tactically you can do some things the same. You do some things differently, but I think, it's just about leadership, and it's about certainly. I had the opportunity to coach our men's team here for 1 year. It's awesome. I think we're leading and motivating in different ways for sure, but tactically and technically, you're asking some of the same things. I think that's the cool thing about soccer, right? It's just it's the same size ball, it's the same size field, it's the same size goal. And I think some of those things don't change. And it's what I love about the game.
When you first started coaching, how did you decide what kind of coach you wanted to be and what kind of style you wanted to play? And I'm sure that's probably evolved over the last 20 years or so.
No, it has. I think ultimately, when you're a young coach and you're learning, I think you need to have, a mentor. And for me, Dave Brandt was a huge person in my life at the time. I'm 23 years old. I'm young. I don't know anything. And, I think just he was so prepped and so prepared in terms of how he wanted to play stylistically. And I think a lot of things that he really drove into the players. I just had a notebook. I wrote down every drill. I wrote down everything the guy said. And, and from there, you just dive in, and you're watching videos, and you're going to sessions, and you're just taking in as much from coaching all over the world, and that's what you're trying to learn from. And, most recently the women's coach and I, at Messiah, Scotty Fry has been a huge mentor to me in the last few years. And, Scotty and I have been great friends for years for sure. But I think even more so, we've just talked and communicated now, and so grateful to see them, in the Final Four as well. Scotty's just a great friend, and really excited for them too.
And they're very much a power on the men's side too. I think Hopkins and Messiah both their men's teams. I think we're in a Final 8, I believe, right?
I think I'm not sure. I think Hopkins was. I think Messiah lost a little early on the men's side, but I was there, Dave. David won 7 national championships and was really just rolling, and his leadership is tremendous for sure, and I think just had a huge effect on myself.
Yeah. Do you find yourself playing a similar style most years, or does it depend upon your personnel, like what you happen to have, on the field? Does your style change?
It's a great question, actually. I've been probably very regimented in terms of just style. We had played 4-3-3 for 22 years. I love 4-3-3. I think it's I think it's just a very structured, organized system, very Dutch from that standpoint in terms of just some of the tactical things that we're looking at. And so, last year, we ended up playing Messiah in the NCAA tournament, and they were playing a system we hadn't seen before. And, we came back from that game. We ended up losing 1-0 in double overtime with 4 minutes left to go. And we came back from the game, and I told our players, we need a second system. Like, we need to be able to adjust, into something. And so we really just sat down as a team. We went over the pros and cons of everything. We wrote it all down, and we dedicated our spring to this system that they were playing. And we ended up playing a Division I team in the spring, and we ended up beating them 4-1, with this new system. And I think from there it kind of took off. Our players were bought in, and the system we're playing now is definitely more player friendly in terms of them making their own decisions. On the field, we're giving them some structure, and then they're really the ones who are making all the decisions on the field. And so it's been really fun to see, just that development within, the new system that we're playing.
Yeah. Well, I noticed on your roster, you have players from all over the country. And you mentioned earlier that that's pretty typical for the regular student at the college as well. How do you recruit your players? I mean, I'm sure your budget's not endless, so you probably have to do some videotapes and stuff. And so how do you recruit your players, and what are you looking for?
Sure. No, I mean, we're recruiting all over the country for sure. We find a way to get there somehow, but we've been to California, Colorado, Florida obviously is huge, but I think obviously with the beach, I think there's lots of players who want to come to the beach. The airport's actually 5 minutes away. It's really easy to fly in and out of here. And so, I think ultimately, certainly like every team, there's certain aspects of players you're looking at. And obviously you're looking for players that are technical and smart and, obviously can solve problems, but, also possess the pace and the speed that's required at the college game. It's a much more physical game for sure. And so you're trying to balance all of those things. But, I think ultimately as well, you take that one aspect of things, but then the other aspect is you want to find the right people. And, I just talk about this a ton, but, I think ultimately finding the right people is the most important factor, in your program and in your program's success. You can have just tremendous players who have just the wrong attitudes. And I think that just permeates into something that, is never successful. And, we feel like we've found the right people. It's just a good group. The players get along so well. You really can't tell the difference between our freshmen and our seniors, and I think that's just been standard within our program for years. Is that part of our process. We'll call tons of coaches. We ask around. We've been in it long enough, so we can call the club coaches. We can call the high school coaches, and for the most part, they understand what we're looking for as well.
How does it work with the different divisions? Like in the boys' side, a top Division III team, many of their players could easily play Division I. It just depends on the fit and maybe the timing. But like a a Johns Hopkins or Washington Lee, their top players could play in many Division I rosters, and their teams could beat many Division I teams. And you referenced earlier that you guys beat a Division I team in the spring. Is it the same on the women's side in that there's a lot of overlap between Division III and Division I rosters? And is it also the same at Division II? It's mostly the kids that want to getting a free ride is probably the most important aspect of choosing a program.
Sure. I mean, I think ultimately, I mean, yeah, at any level, for sure, there's teams that are, capable of competing against and beating Division I level or teams. I mean, I think coaches and culture that are built, I think, you can compete and play at a really, really high level. And I think that's ultimately the key for sure. I think finding the right people, and again, you find the right people, put them in the system and let them play in the system. They're going to compete and they're going to get after it. And, I mean, I think, when you get into the Power Fives, that's a whole different animal, right? For sure. I mean, those Power Five teams, I mean, they're special on the women's side. I don't think you're competing with them, but I think, a major Division I team, I think, the high level Division III teams are certainly capable of competing with them.
Well, we talked a little bit about recruiting nationwide. What about Hampton Roads? Now, for years, maybe even generations, the women in Northern Virginia dominated the state in soccer, and even the men were probably dominant. But over time, the rest of the state has gotten really strong. And I know with the clubs in Virginia Beach FC, there's another club there I'm going to forget, Virginia Beach, whatever.
The Virginia Rush
Virginia Rush Club. There's some really nice clubs down there. Have you found the quality of youth player gone up in your home area?
No, certainly. I mean, obviously Beach FC, Virginia Rush. I mean, one of our freshmen this year, Cheyenne Diaz is a Virginia Rush kid, and we've got 3 more Virginia Rush kids coming in, next year. So certainly, and then our assistant coaches at Kellam High School, and they were in the state finals last year, and he's been there multiple times, and so certainly the level of soccer down here, I think is, it's a high level. When you look at the level of the colleges as well, I mean, obviously we had 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. Old Dominion women were in the NCAA tournament. Christopher Newport and ourselves right here in Hampton Roads. I mean, I think the area is really fortunate from that standpoint, is that they can come see 3 really high level teams, play in the NCAA tournament and play, week in and week out, at a really, really high level for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your team. You mentioned Cheyenne Diaz, who's got 13 goals this year, and you have Alexis Miller, who's got 7 goals and 9 assists. But you have a lot of goals from different people players on your team, so it's a very balanced team. Coming into the season, did you have high expectations? Obviously, as a coach, your players can feel those expectations. And just tell us a little bit about your season.
No, I mean, I think ultimately, we did really have some high expectations for this group. I mean, you never know, how far you're going to go for sure. I think the team itself, we started with a really good opening tournament here, and we played really well in those games against, 2 teams that ended up being, regionally and nationally ranked at points. And so, I mean, I think ultimately for us, the depth of our team, it has been just part of our team's success. And, I've said this before, but, we need a squad of players. I mean, I think we've dealt with injuries. Our starting lineup has changed. I mean, obviously last weekend at, the Christopher Newport Regional, I mean, we played without, our starting center midfielder for the last, she had started every game, and ended up, getting hurt in the last minute of the Rowan game. And then ultimately, we had a player who was starting at a different position, and she moved over into the starting center mid, and she played tremendous. And we had another player who played last weekend who had been hurt for 3.5-4 weeks, hadn't played since October. And so, I mean, I think ultimately the squad depth and the players that we have certainly have some talent, and you just have to put faith into them that they're going to be ready and prepped, and they're training on their own at points and times throughout the season and running on their own sometimes. So, I think they're just truly bought in, certainly into what we're doing.
Is it a very similar team to teams you've had in the past, or is this team unique in its own way?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think we've had some talent throughout the years for sure. And I think, I want to, obviously, I don't want to keep harping on it, but I've just told our players, like, we just need to earn respect. I think we need to, and you earn respect by certainly winning. And I think the team itself has been overlooked, for a few years. I think we've had some really, really talented groups. And I think ultimately, I mean, I think certainly, just changing up some system and formation, and, I think our two forwards who start for us up top, Alexis Miller and Cheyenne Diaz, not only are they, great forwards in terms of finishing, but I believe they also have a high work rate defensively. Defensively, I think, it starts up top with them, and, they work, and I think that just carries over, throughout the whole team. And, the back line is really special as well. So I just think everyone's bought into defending. I mean, geez, the first goal that we scored against Wisconsin lacrosse was, just one of our central midfielders getting on a good tackle and just pokes it away and plays it right into Alexis Miller, who plays it into Cheyenne. And so, without obviously that ability to defend, I just don't think we are where we are.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the Christopher Newport. Is that a big rivalry there in Newport News? It's pretty close. They were number
Yeah,
one.
certainly, right. Yeah, it's a big rival. But that's a big rival for all sports, right? It's not just women's soccer. Anytime you're playing Christopher Newport, you're excited, and teams need rivals. I think that's what makes it successful and fun. Those are the games that you remember, and we feel like that's definitely one of our rivals. And we've got certainly rivals within the ODAC that I think are very talented as well. And Salisbury, Mary Washington, we try to play those guys every year as well, and they're very talented as well. So, but yeah, Christopher Newport's a rival, and even before the game, we saw their coaches. They're great guys. They've done a tremendous job, and we like to play them, and I'm sure they like to play us as well.
Well, they're number one in the country at times this year. What was the key to you guys? You tied them in regulation, and you're able to carry them into penalties. What was the key to finally overcoming and beating them?
Yeah, so certainly. Yeah, regulation, we lost 2-1 in the last 12 seconds or last minute and a half or something. I don't even know what it was, but it's a great game for sure. And then, on Sunday, I felt like, certainly, we had played the Saturday before against Wisconsin lacrosse, and, we expended just a ton of energy. They were running us for sure. And, I think, obviously on Sunday, you're playing a rival. And so any fatigue and, any tiredness and anything that you feel in terms of pain just goes away. And because you're playing your rival, and you just get fired up to play against them. So, I just think, just in terms of just the team morale and the team spirit that day was really critical to us. And I think, again, our team defending overall was just at a really high level, and neither team was able to score. And then you get into penalty kicks, and certainly we were on a good side of penalty kicks that day. And so yeah, we're excited about moving on.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again, Coach. So when you think about Salem in the Final Four, the Division III schedule is a little unique, because you have 2 weekends in a row where if you want to advance, you got 4 games. Then you get 2 weeks off before the Final Four, and then you have Thanksgiving. Yeah. So it's a little bit strange of a schedule. So how are you guys handling all the games and now the break until the Final Four?
No, it's a valid question for sure, and obviously the first time for us, going through it. The last time we were in the Final Four, it was at Disney, and so we were down there over Thanksgiving, and so literally we flew in on, the Wednesday the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We had a big banquet on Thanksgiving Day, and then we played the next day. So this is different for us. We practiced on Tuesday, and our team has been off, since then. We practice again today here at 4:00, but I mean, we had players who were flying home on Monday. We got players in California and Florida and all over the place. So we had players everywhere who had already made some Thanksgiving plans and, obviously new on our end of things. So we'll get back. We'll get moving here, and we'll get them prepped and prepared. Hopefully, the time off gives them a little time to just kind of get their mind, right. I think, obviously on your end, you're right. Like you're playing back to back, a ton, and it's mentally fatiguing. We the ODAC championships, we played 4 games in like 9 days, and then you come back and you play back to back games, weekends in a row. Our players have put some miles on their legs, and so obviously on our end, we're hoping that just a little bit of opportunity to relax, refresh, come back refocused, that they'll come back prepared here today.
Yeah. Well, in the Final Four, I believe you drew Messiah first game. Is that correct, Coach?
We're playing Case Western.
Oh, Case Western. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Case, who's been highly rated all year long. I believe they were 2 and 3 for most of the year.
Good group.
Yeah. So what's the key to Case, and are you guys healthy going in?
Yeah. So Case Western, they've got a Division I transfer from the University of Cincinnati. She's their leading goal scorer. They've got a midfielder. I want to say is a 2 or 3 time All-American, in the midfield, and they've got some pacey backs. And so, we'll prep, for them. We've started some of the scouting as well. We're going to dive into it this weekend and get after more of it. But, I think ultimately what's been great on our end is we haven't had to leave Virginia. We hosted the first weekend. So our players got to stay in their own bed. The second weekend, Christopher Newport, it's 35, 40 minutes away. And then you go to Salem, which is, it's hosted by Roanoke and it's just a familiar sight, with our team. We've played there a number of times. I don't think we'll be, overwhelmed by that atmosphere, and I think sometimes that can be overwhelming, when you're playing at places you're unfamiliar with. And I think our players, really the only players that haven't played on that field would be our freshmen. Everyone else on our team played on that field last year. So, that at least that familiarity, I think, will be, calming in that respect.
Yeah. Well, Coach, this is an exciting time for you. Your team's going to the Final Four. The World Cup is on. So it's a great time to be a soccer fan, and probably even a better time to be a soccer coach, especially when your team is playing so well. So I really appreciate you doing this. It's been great meeting you, and I wish you the best of luck next week. And it would be nice to see the title stay in Virginia.
Yeah, well, we've got 2 chances, right? We got Mary Wash as well, so hopefully Jason can get it done up there. And excited for him. Jason's fantastic and love him. He's a great guy. So hopefully we can bring home some hardware here to Virginia and keep everyone excited. So, but really just grateful for you, having me today. And I hope everyone has a great holiday weekend for sure.
Yeah. Well, again, Coach, I appreciate that. And again, I wish you the best of luck. And let's keep the title in Virginia.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julian. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah.